creative friends, it's Sue and I'm back with another video. And I do have my cup turner out here. And we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Again, a little bit of an experiment because I've never done this before. But before we get into it, I just want to say welcome to any new viewers that haven't come to my channel before. And welcome back to any existing subscribers and viewers. Just want to say up front before I forget at the end of the video, if this is something that you enjoy watching, or if it taught you something or helped you with something, a like would really help me out. Subscribing would help my channel out and help me grow and help me produce more of these types of videos. A comment is great as well. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So today I have my, like I said, I have my cup turner out here. So let me pull you back just a little bit. I have a little bit of resin mixed up over here in this cup. I have about just a little bit more than 20 milligrams in here. I won't need all that 20. That's just what I had left over from other projects that I'm working on. But what I do have is the bottom part of a jar here. So this is a jar that I poured back a little bit ago. And the bottom had a few air bubble holes in it from where the air got trapped underneath the lip of the mold. And on the top, it was a little bit rough because I poured some glitter on the top to give the bottom a little bit of an interest. And I want to make this a little bit more uniform and a little bit more perfect. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I don't really have any way of pouring resin on here without it all running off. I could use UV resin. I have already sanded it and wiped it all off and cleaned it all off with alcohol. So I could do some UV resin on here, but I thought, just in case I'm not crazy about that, what else could I do? So I thought, well, this is a good time to give my resin turner, or my tumbler turner, a try. Now, I'm not sure if this, yep, it does fit on there. Okay. I'm just hoping it doesn't slide off. So I've pushed it on there as far as I can get it. I do have a smaller sponge, but in the interest of time and not wanting to go hunt for it, I think I'll just leave this as is because I think it's going to hold it just fine. And what I plan on doing is exactly what it sounds like. I want to turn this on, turn this piece, and add some resin to it to cover up all the blemishes, and we'll see if it works just as well as it would for a tumbler project. I can't imagine that it won't, but again, we'll find out. So I'm going to turn it on, get my cup here, and what I want to try to avoid is it spilling down here. Now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking I don't know if I want that to happen, so I may turn this off. So what I'm talking about here is, if you can see this on my tumbler, this is a downhill slant and it's slanting right down into my foam. And I don't want this to stick to my foam because my foam will peel off and stick to the lip of my jar. And I don't want that to happen. I've had that happen with other pieces. So what I think I'm going to do is put some tape around that to prevent that from happening. And it's nice because I got a little line here. So what I'm going to do is use my non-sticky, very sticky tape. Now what I could have done, which I didn't think about doing either, is I could have taped off the edge here so I have a nice edge, but I'm hoping that most of my resin is going to stay over here on this side of it. So put it back on, or my turner back on rather, and I'm going to focus trying to get my resin. I want to turn this so you guys can see it without my arm being in too much of the way and blocking too much of the light. I'm going to try to get the resin focused primarily down around the bottom of the cup here. So I don't care if it goes down a little bit this way, but I don't want it, sorry if I'm not in frame here, I don't want it to be too thick anywhere. So I'm being very, very cautious about the amount I'm putting on here. So it looks pretty good. And this is obviously another really good place where you could put some more sparkles on here if you wanted to, do something like that, be a little bit more creative. You could put stickers on at this point. Right now I'm just looking to make sure that it works. So we'll go from here once that is done. So I'm going to let this turn, let it do its thing, and we'll be back to see the results of how this worked out for us. So stay tuned. This did the trick, although there are definitely some imperfections still in it. I think my first mistake is that I put far too light of a coat on. I do want to make that a little bit more uniform, I guess is the word, and I want to also be sure that it goes all the way down to the tip, because I can see in some areas, and my camera's not going to pick it up, but I can feel it where there's some places where it didn't go quite all the way down as far as I wanted it to. And I was, as I mentioned earlier, very concerned about this nice straight edge, which I could touch up if I really had to, but I don't really want to do that if I don't need to. That's the purpose of trying this method. I also can feel down here where we focused a lot of the resin, that it is still bumpy. You're not going to be able to see it on camera. It's not that glassy, smooth finish that I'm looking for. So, and particularly on the bottom as well, right here. This is, you can hear that, still scratchy. So again, in the interest of experimentation, as we always do, I want to be sure that I get as nice a finish on this as possible and show you the things that work and the things that don't work. So I am going to take this, do some quick sanding on it, especially down here around the bottom with a very fine-ish sandpaper. I'm not sure yet what I will use. Once I figure that out, I will put a link or a description down in my description box. I wanted to jump in here quickly now that I'm pretty much done sanding. I did use 1000 grit sandpaper. I know it's upside down, but it's 1000 grit. And I went over the entire surface. I haven't wiped it down from dust yet, but you can see how that resin ended up going over the surface of this. It's very blotchy, and it's very fish-eyed in places almost. And I can only attribute that to how fine of a layer I put on here. While you're putting it on with your finger, it all feels great. But then when you find out after the fact, it looks like this. So I'm going to put a couple of disclaimers in here. First of all, make sure you're using a good amount of resin. Again, I was very stingy because of this downhill slope here. I don't want it coming down here. So I do need to put a little bit more on here. I'd rather do a couple of coats and let it turn than do too much and have it ruin my edge down here. Secondly, this is, of course, to be used in a pinch. If you've made a beautiful piece and you don't want it to go to waste, and you find that you've got some surface bubbles like I did down here that I want to fill in. This really started off as a major hole I had somewhere that I can't even find anymore. But I wanted to fill that hole in because it was a really extensive air bubble that had set in there, of course. So this is in a pinch. If you really want to save something and you don't want to go through the process of having to remake it and waste the resin, this is a really good technique. You're not using a whole lot of resin to fix it, and I think using the turner works fine for this. So we're going to continue on with this process. Okay, so we are back, and I want to show you the results of my cup turning here. So it turned out really well. It's smooth now. I don't feel the lumps and bumps that I felt before. Couple very, very insignificant ones, but otherwise nice. I actually did put the resin on the bottom. I said I wasn't going to, but I did. That turned out beautifully. All the holes that I felt earlier are all gone. It turned out really nice. So let's take it off the turner. The tape actually came away very easily. The only issue that I have is one little piece of resin that's stuck here, which, like I said before, this is Let's Resin. It takes a little bit for it to cure completely, so that is easy enough to fix while it's still soft. I'm literally just picking it off, and then I can go over it with a file or an emery board later on. But this is what it looks like. So it turned out really nice. So now that I know that this works, the next thing that I want to experiment with is this. So while he is cute, he didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted him to. He's got a couple of problems. He's got a problem here on the base where there's a air hole, which I could totally fix that without any problem. The major problem is that there is a hole right here, and it's a rather significant hole. It goes from the tips of both of my fingernails, then it comes out this way. So if I did want to put this up for sale or give it as a gift or do something with it, you want it to be in the best condition possible, of course. So I would want to fill that hole in. So one of the things that I was actually considering doing was putting it on my turner. All right, so I have adhered my mushroom. Oops, sorry. Sorry about that. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my turner here. I have adhered my mushroom here at the top to my turning base with some E6000, and not 100% sure it's going to stay, because I just put the glue on maybe half an hour ago, and I put quite a bit to make sure that it stayed, but not sure if it's going to hold out for the turning without falling off. So I think I'm gonna don't do this with gloves on. I think I'm gonna try to do a little masking tape around the top here. Oh, good Lord. To try to hold it in place maybe a little bit better. Because it's E6000, I know that I should be able to get it off both my cup and my mushroom without too much trouble, so hopefully this is not going to be a problem. But again, you're learning with me, so if it is a problem, you'll find out here, right? Okay, perfect. So let's turn on the turner. And I am really going to be just focusing on the hole here, as well as anywhere else that needs a little love. So right now I'm just putting a little bit on with my silicone stirrer, because I want to get enough on, but I don't want too much. So we're back, and I have finished the turning of this little mushroom that I made to see how it would go on the turner. This is the spot where I put the E6000 glue and the end of the rod where I taped it on to the machine. I already took it off. You can see a small little smidgen of residue right around here, which will be easy enough for me to clean and take off. So that's not a concern at all. Everything else came off exactly as I'd hoped it would, so that is good. And as for the side that I needed to clean up, that's right here. You still see a tiny little hole, but it's not nearly what it was. Let me see if I can get it up here. So you can see on the side there, there's hardly any hole at all. I can feel it with my finger, and unless you hold it in the light just right, you would never tell. This was just a test piece. The turner works remarkably well for helping out with those problem pieces that may have not done exactly what you wanted to. So if you had holes or if you had uneven areas, it works. All right, so that does it, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by and catching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, leave it a thumbs up. If you have a comment about something to share that you've learned or that you've tried that worked well or didn't work well, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear about it. I hope you all stay safe, happy, and healthy whenever and wherever you are. Leave a subscribe if you're so inclined, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, everyone.